So it's the first race of 2019, and yesterday I had a bad accident in the kitchen. I literally fell flat on my back after slipping over some juice that somebody spilt. Hit my head on the Brex bar, split my toe open. But we're racing today, so Izzy has got her vet's kit and bandaged it up. Now we're going to put the plastic bag on it. You do not want to see how difficult it was to get into this steamer that I had before I had Elizabeth. So ridiculously tight. That'll do. Stop! And then we just squidge the tape. It's got to help, hasn't it? It's got to be better than nothing. Oof, blimey, she's vicious.
Okay, right, now
Maybe it just feels so bad because my foot feels so bad.
So as Hannah kind of explained, today is January the 1st and it's the Wilsonians Sailing Club New Year's Day race, and we're doing it in our National 12 Pepsi. Today will be only the 4th time we've ever sailed it, and the first time was the New Year's Day race in 2018, so we're hardly experts, so keep that in mind while you watch us. Next thing I want to point out is we had some help in both the race box and one of the rescue boats to take some of the footage for us, so thanks very much. Unfortunately, in the rush to try and get everything sorted out and teach them how the cameras worked, we obviously neglected to tell them how to switch the microphones on, because none of them recorded any audio. So if the soundtrack doesn't seem to quite fit with what you're watching, please keep in mind that I've just overdubbed whatever soundtrack I could find out of what we had. I figure some background noise is better than none at all. So this was the start. We had a strong outgoing tide and a light and fluky wind that would switch around a lot and would make the start a little tricky, although it did mean we could all basically stay on the line reasonably well. There proved to be no right or wrong side of the river at this point, because although the majority of the boats came from the far shore, the shore we were on, Chris, sailing the blaze that's in the foreground now, 778, would round that first mark second and would finish second overall, so it clearly didn't hurt. Probably should apologise at this point to the guy in the laser that's just in front of us, because he was clearly new to sailing and got himself wrapped up in the middle of this race, and when the adrenaline's pumping, we're not as polite and forgiving as we should be. So that was the end of the first beat, and we were doing okay really. All the boats in front of us should have been in front of us, so it couldn't have been going too badly. Bit of an accidental jibe as we went round this mark, which didn't hurt us but is a little embarrassing to show on film, but with the tide going out we didn't really lose any time. As you can probably tell, it's a proper handicap race, this one, with every kind of boat you could imagine really, ranging from the speed of a streaker, which is kind of halfway between a laser and a topper, all the way up to some trapeze boats, namely a Buzz and an Alto, which is the same sort of size as a 505 but with a small asymmetric on it. So there wouldn't be much boat on boat racing, it would just be down to the handicap system. The first three boats on the water pretty much established themselves right from the off. The Alto taking the lead, Chris and his Blaze in second, and Stuart with his new crew in the Buzz in third. We would trade fourth on the water the whole way round really with the Moth, which is a pretty brave boat to be sailing really throughout the winter in the UK, as there's no real way you can stay dry. So today's course was pretty straightforward really. We had a beat against the tide up to the first mark, then a run with the tide down to the second mark, which we've just gone round. Then it was just a reach up to buoy 30, one of the marks we regularly use, where we would turn 180 degrees and have a fetch all the way back down to a buoy that was positioned just outside the club so they could make finishing easier. This would be the hardest part of the course, because in the light winds you really didn't want to be in the tide, and if you stayed to the left hand side of the river you were in the lee of St Mary's Island and the fluky winds that came round that. But to cross the tide and go all the way around the right hand side of the river was a long way. And although as the day progressed people, including ourselves, would tend to just sail down the middle of the river more to try and keep in the wind and not worry about the tide so much, on the first lap the tide was ripping out so fast you really couldn't just ignore it. So this fetch would prove particularly frustrating, because for the middle half we seemed to just sit in a hole really. For a while all 5 of us leading boats were stuck in it, and then the front 2 seemed to get away while the rest of us sat there watching the boats from behind catch up. But I can't really complain, because I suspect everyone had their time sitting in a hole somewhere. So the next struggle of the course was just trying to get to the last mark. There were a line of trots, boys all joined together by ropes, that kept us from keeping out of the tide. So we had to fight our way up to the end of the trots before we could get in towards the mark. No complaints, we all had to do it. It was just another one of those little challenges the course was setting for us on the day. This clip demonstrates one of the many sacrifices we have to make in our dinghy sailing just to bring you, the viewing public, the pictures we do. We had to give them off an extra couple of feet at this mark just to accommodate that lump of wood we have sticking out the front with a camera on it. So it meant we couldn't tuck in behind him quite as tightly as we'd have liked to. So that was the end of the first lap. We'd do it all one more time, but not a lot changed on the water, and we would end up 4th overall. The Alto won, the Blaze came 2nd, the Solo that you've caught glimpses of just behind us came 3rd, and we came 4th. Not bad really, all things considered. The only really frustrating bit was the wind just started to fill in just as the race came to an end, so this one clip I'm showing here of us sitting side by side was just at the end of the race. I'm showing it really because in the year we've now owned Pepsi, that's the first time we've ever been able to sit side by side on the boat. I'd like to think that's all about the weather and not the weight I've been putting on as the year's gone on.